A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown. The panel already in. Good morning or afternoon to Wheeler Brown, Coach Pettaway, and Charles. Good morning. How's everyone?
All
Doing
right,
fine,
all
doing
right.
fine.
Well, it's the Bayou Classic time, the annual football game between Southern University and Grambling State. Actually, the 51st edition. I'll start off with this. And, of course, what's trending, 51st Bayou Classic. And then we have another topic, HBCU football coaches that were let go this past week. But Wheeler, Coach Pettaway, and Charles, any experiences about the Bayou Classic? If Wheeler, if you haven't been, is it on your bucket list? Coach Pettaway, if you haven't been, is it on your bucket list to attend?
Yeah,
I've been a couple times. And always exciting, that sort of thing. And good to see, that many people, brothers and sisters, pretty much in unison, that sort of thing. And everybody always having a good time and all the fanfare that goes with it. So, if you haven't been, those out there that's listening to us, if they haven't been, there's definitely something you want to put on your bucket list, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
well, Carlos, I haven't been, and yeah, it is on my bucket list. When I was coaching, it was impossible to make that game.
Right.
But now that I'm out, I have put that down. That's one of the classics that I do want to attend. So that's on my bucket list to get down there for that.
Yeah, I can understand. And Charles, I'm sure you have plenty of stories to talk about the Bayou Classic.
Well, actually, I've been a couple of times. I'm like Coach Pettaway. I was doing basketball as a student when I was with the Bayou Classic. But I have been, and my parents, they share a ton of stories. There's a video out there. My father was dressed up in a shirt and tie, just the pageantry of it all of the Bayou Classic. It's something special. A whole week's worth of activities, and despite the records and all of that, I mean, it's something special. So I enjoy the Bayou Classic when I had a chance to be a part of it, and it's nothing like it. There's no event, and there's no HBCU event, in my opinion, that rivals that. And regardless of the records, regardless what's at stake, it's just something special. Southern Grambling in New Orleans. There's nothing like it.
1 p.m. NBC, and good, think about that because a couple of years. It was on NBC Sports. You remember, guys, and that company is no longer functioning. And the game was moved to 4 p.m. Now a lot of our people are traditionalists. They like that 1 o'clock slot like now. But I kind of looked at it as, you had the Battle of the Bands last night. You had the Greek show. You had all those kind of activities. The younger folk, they kind of like that 4 p.m. Will, but I think we're in all category. 1 p.m. Let's go with it, and then afterwards you have, whatever your heart desires to get into. But that was interesting. 4 p.m. But now on NBC, because there's still a lot of people that don't have cable. Some have cut the cord. But if you have a television, you have what? NBC. So it's big, and we'll kind of get into the dynamics of the game. Ossie Clark will join us at about the bottom of the hour. But this Southern and Grambling State matchup is interesting because Southern's been has been where Grambling's been a few times. Southern is going on to the SWAC championship game next week. They can't be looking ahead. Throw records out as Charles said. And for Grambling State, this is their championship. This is their Super Bowl. And Southern cannot take them lightly at all. And so Southern University has been in a situation where Grambling State's been in. And we all have memories, of some of the classic games. I can remember Bruce Eugene battling with Quincy Richard. We played a clip of that before on the show. Over 1,000 yards of total offense. It was one that you put on the television or pop in the tape when it's in the summer and you're craving for football. Charles, that one was a magnificent game. It was exciting. And then you looked at Bruce Eugene after the game. He was, he took it really hard. And some people were kind of like, getting on him about that, but I never did because he was a competitor. And in this type of game, and, it's a different type. It's more like family considered to say with Southern and Jackson State. So in 2 weeks, Southern is playing their number one rival. And then the next week they're playing their most intense rival. So see how Coach Pettaway, I broke that into 2 parts there. But Southern still has a lot to play for. You don't want to go into the championship game coming in with a loss. So a lot at stake for both teams.
Right. I think it's going to be a great game, and when you start looking at the back, that's going to be taxing. The emotional highs and lows for these players. That the coaching staff got to make sure that they're on top of that because it can be taxing not only for the coaching staff but particularly for the players. So there's going to be a big balance of them trying to make sure that they stay focused. Because it's easy, number one, to be looking ahead to that SWAC championship game. And then if you win that, you still got to go to the Celebration Bowl. So that's a lot of football left to be played in a short period of time. And that's what concerns me more about the SWAC's representation. I think that whoever wins and has to go on to that Celebration Bowl, you look at their schedule. They would have played 3 weeks of either the Soul Bowl or rivalry games, and then that championship game. So it's kind of rough.
I think that I think overall, I think number one, you work hard to put yourself in this position. And I believe Coach Graves will have those kids ready to go. You can pretty much tell he's kept their foot on the gas pedal pretty much the whole way, and will probably continue to do so. And it's what the kids have worked for since opening camp. Since they arrived in August at the end of July. They wanted to get to this point where you're playing meaningful football. And this is where you are. So, who doesn't want to be, in this predicament, quote unquote, right now?
Yeah. And if we look ahead, okay, today, next week, Jackson State, then the next week, Celebration Bowl.
Yeah.
But hey, it is what it is. And Willie, you're right. You want to be in this position? I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade if I'm a player. I got an opportunity to make some benchmarks, achieve them. Go ahead, Charles.
Well, make no bones about it. This Bayou Classic brings out a lot of memories and a lot of intensity. And we've been in that position where we've already won when we were in the East, we won the Eastern Division. We were heading to the championship game. We lost to Jackson State at home. And our fans, they are so passionate about the Alcorn-Jackson rivalry, said if we win the SWAC championship in their minds, it's like a half a championship because we didn't win the Jackson State game. I've shared this story on this show before. That's just how the feeling is when it comes to, Alcorn Jackson. I don't know, Carlos, you know this better than me, how the Jaguar Nation feels about that. Yes, you're playing for a championship, but Grambling's the big show. Would they be hurt even more so because they didn't win the Bayou Classic, even though they might win the SWAC championship? And this Bayou Classic has gotten so intense, Carlos, many, many years ago. I don't know if you remember this. There was a situation where the Grambling coach at the time was almost accosted on the sidelines at the Bayou Classic because they lost the Bayou Classic. Like Grambling lost it in the final minute. And it was someone on Grambling's sideline that was so ticked off about it, ticked off with Grambling's coach at the time, that there was almost a physical confrontation on the sidelines. That's just how intense the Bayou Classic is, when it comes to Grambling side anyway. I mean, so yes, Southern's playing for the championship next week. But how did the Jaguar Nation feel about this game and the fact that, you want to win this Bayou Classic? For me, my memory is last year. Grambling had the ball 1 yard line and couldn't score. And so, I mean, Grambling wins that game. Who knows what could happen with the programs going forward after that. But they didn't win the game, and you saw how things turned out. So that's my recent memory of the Bayou Classic. Last year, you couldn't score from the 1 yard line. Southern wins that game, and it just kind of just changes the course of things.
What was that chant? Defense, Jags. Defense. A lot of defense.
Oh my God. Here we go.
And Charles, I think the coach you're talking about, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure someone will correct me, this guy, I got the chance to know very well in the Celebration Bowl. The former North Carolina A&T football coach.
Yes.
Wheeler.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's often you look at the Bayou Classic and some of the bigger rivalry games in the Classic. There are so many people on the sideline. Now, we know they're not all affiliated with the football program. I guess that's one of the traditions. Some people would be like, "Wait a minute, that's too many people on the sideline." What is his name? Why can't I remember his name? I see his. Help me out, Charles. I see his face now.
Rod Broadway.
That's him. How dare you attack that man?
Yeah.
That guy.
It was, and I didn't believe it. I heard about it, but I saw some of the video clips from it wasn't the full thing, but I just saw someone lunging at Coach Broadway, and I'm like, did I see what I thought I saw? And I talked to someone that was actually on the sidelines, and they said, yes, after losing that game, Coach Broadway was almost assaulted on the sidelines. So that tells you the intensity of this particular rivalry. Kind of like Alcorn Jackson State last week. That's gotten a whole nother set of conversations and anger and venom. But that the Bayou Classic means something. And look, Southern's going to the championship. Grambling's kind of up in the air right now. Mickey Joseph said there's going to be changes at the end of the year. Don't know what that looks like, but he can save a little face with a win today. But changes are in the air, and the dynamics of the Western Division are kind of up in the air too, with all the changes. A lot of players hitting the portal, coaches let go in the West. So, you want to plant your stake in the ground in terms of where you are in the pecking order in the Western Division.
Well, all of that's going to take care of itself. I just want to get to these next possible 3 weeks. It's kind of the state of college football now. It changes often. There's a term after NFL I'm not going to use, but right after the season, there are always coaches leaving, if you get my drift. But Southern Grambling State, of course, the 51st Bayou Classic, 1 p.m. NBC Sports. Let's look at some of the numbers. This year's Bayou Classic marks the 76th all-time meeting between the Tigers and Jaguars, with Southern holding a 41-34 lead in the series. Last year, of course, Charles kind of alluded to it. Last year, GSU lost a nail-biter, falling 27-22. Now, it's another note I wanted to look at. And I'm going to pull it up. But, Southern's had a lot of success in the Bayou Classic the last few years. I think Gramblin's only won one out of the last 4 or 5 years against Southern University. So you kind of you're kind of nervous a little bit about this game because again, this is Gramblin's Super Bowl.
I would venture to say Coach
mm,
Graves don't get that job if they don't win that game last year. So it tells
Oh
you
no,
how
here we
important.
go.
It
wait,
tells you
wait a
Here we
how
minute.
go.
important.
Oh no, here we go.
Ding,
You don't
ding,
think
ding,
so?
ding, ding.
Here we
Here,
go,
here we
Carlos.
go. Well, yeah, I know why Charles is
Hey,
saying that,
Coach
Coach
William
Pettaway.
Brown.
Hey, look, it didn't hurt him to win it. Now it did not hurt him
I
to
know
win
it didn't. Well, I know.
I think the tide had already been moving, and me and Charles had this discussion and a disagreement.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. Now, maybe for the other guy that was on the sideline, but I think for Southern University, Coach Graves is going to be the coach, in just my opinion, even if they had lost that Bayou Classic. Now, some may disagree with that, but it did cost the other guy on the sideline, I believe, his job. I think it put the nail in the coffin because, see, Willie, you started mess already on the show.
No, absolutely not. This has been simmering beneath the surface for a year. Carlos and I, Coach Pettaway, Wheeler, I've said this. The Bayou Classic last year changed the trajectory of both programs. I've talked to Grambling-ites that are in the loop that told me if Grambling won that game and come from behind fashion, there was great belief that Hugh Jackson probably would have returned.
No, I disagree with that. But go ahead, Charles.
I'm talking with people that are on the inside looking in. Hugh Jackson probably would have been out. He might have had something already brewing to where he was maybe leaving, but I think there would have been some arm twisting to keep him around. I think if you win the Bayou Classic, you get that momentum to where you might want to stick around for a little bit longer. Now, I can't speak. Now, you just talked about Terrence Gray was going to get the job regardless. But I think Wheeler Brown kind of put it out there that there would have been some discussions and I don't know this, so maybe I ought to back up because I don't know, Carlos, you know better than me how the dynamics work there. But I think there would have been some discussions because, when you look at Dooley and that whole, and I think there probably was discussions of maybe blowing the whole thing up if Southern lost that game because Dooley had already been let go. Yes, Southern was playing better, but, would you have kept, if you're an AD, if you're Roman Banks, you lose the Bayou Classic, would you have kept the whole band together? I don't know that.
I think so. I can answer that. Just my opinion. I think it's Coach Graves would have still gotten the job. And see, here's the difference. I've heard the statement about the Magic City Classic. You lose that, goodbye. But it's not like that at Southern. Now, don't get me wrong. If Southern loses a game today, it's always been a pressure cooker at Southern University. Now, Grambling, if they'd have won last year, Hugh Jackson would have stayed based on that one game. And here's why I had a problem with this. One game I have to look at if I can steal Wheeler's conversation. The body of work is what I would look at. Now, but for Grambling, that's how they roll. I know their AD, Dr. Scott. I know him personally. Was on this show several times until he left and went to the other side. I just don't think he rolls that way. But Charles, I know some Grambling-ites too. My best friend has deep connection in the Grambling State. And there were people who were just not happy of the body of work. So you're saying, Charles, if Graham would have won last year, Hugh Jackson would have been there? I say no.
Yeah. I mean, just people. I mean, and when you look at the momentum, you look at the recruiting, and look, I talk with our coach about this. How does recruiting help you or hurt you when you win or lose these rivalry games? The recruiting in the state of Louisiana, recruiting in the state of Mississippi. You win the Bayou Classic on national TV, on NBC TV. I think, especially in the way Grambling would have won it and come from behind fashion, I think that there would have been some arm twisting to maybe keep Hugh around. Now, whether Hugh was already going to leave anyway, who knows? but I've talked with some people that kind of know the deal, and there would have been some strong convincing to keep them around.
It couldn't hurt, that's for sure. It couldn't hurt.
No,
You
no.
know, it couldn't hurt.
I look at the body of work, Wheeler.
Yeah, I mean,
and it wasn't good.
That's what sane people look at, Carlos.
What sane people?
Sane people look at the body of work.
So you're saying everybody else is insane?
You have people, you have people outside of the program that have influence in the program that look at that rivalry situation as being the end all be all. You know,
I know there are people like that.
I'm with Charles. I think if they win that game last year, that boy's still there, unless it was just an offer out there he couldn't refuse, or, you know, he saw the handwriting on the wall to the point where, you know, he knew that if he didn't get off to a fast start this coming year, you know, he might not make it through the year or what have you, you know, so he decided to beat the Wolves out the door.
Well, I look at that body at work. That if I'm the AD, that would have much more influence on me. You know, don't get me wrong, Bayou Classic is huge, but you know, Southern fans, look, they'll be pissed if they lose to Jackson in the championship game. And believe it or not.
And rightfully so.
Right, but they were picked fourth.
Yeah.
They finished first. They've had some success. It wasn't easy.
No.
But then, even if they lose, I think they're still trending upwards for the next few years. Just my opinion. See, I'm not hard as some people will think I am. But you got to look at it. Go ahead. Someone was about to say something. Coach Pettaway,
I was going to say, to me, Southern is just like Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL. They do just enough to win the game. And that's what's important. That's what's important. I'm serious. You look at the two seasons. They parallel. They do just enough to win the game, and that's what's important because you're looking at W's. So if it goes down to them only winning by a 1 point today, so be it. Long as Southern wins, that's what they set out to do.
Southern is
an ugly win is still a win.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But
Southern has earned it.
At some point in time, that lack of come back and bite you in the butt.
Yeah,
right.
Sometimes it's just a matter of time.
But that's what they keep saying about the Chiefs. Yeah,
you hope that you can skate, you know, and I believe it's gonna come back on them at the most inopportune time.
Yeah.
It sounds like Wheeler. I'm willing to bet if we gave him a truth serum, he would say it's going to happen next week. Jackson State. But you know, one thing, and this is a perfect time to bring Ossie Clark in. Done a lot of work with Grambling State University, and good morning, Ossie.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning.
I'm doing fine. I'm adding you to add a little bit of balance to the day's show as part of the panel. Here's what I was looking for. The last 5 games, 11-30-19, 2019, Southern won 30-28. And again, throw records out. Rivalries are just that. You win some, you lose some. 4-17-21, I believe that was in Shreveport. Southern won 49-7. 11-27-21. Grambling State wins 29-26. And that's the last time they've won in a few Bayou Classic. 11-26-22. Southern over Grambling State 34-17. And of course, last year 11-25-23. Southern 27-22 over Grambling State. So they're on a 2-game winning streak. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Southern's won 4 of the last 5 Bayou Classic. Ossie,
I think you just invited me on here, Carlos, to just rub it in my face. Is that what you do?
No. Oh, they want you to see if you could turn your phone a little bit, get a
sideways,
to get a better view. And no, Ossie, I wouldn't do that. Now, you're a Grambling Knight, but guess what? you're a good Grambling Knight. There are many good Grambling Knights. And as I stated earlier, it's more like a family rivalry. But Jackson, there you go. Jackson State in Southern is more intense. It's intense. And so, yeah, there you go. So, for Southern, 2 weeks in a row, a family rivalry that's deep in tradition, and then Jackson State, a heated, intense rivalry. So that's a point to bring up. Southern Coach Graves and staff, they'll have to monitor the mental aspect of emotions, a better way to put it,
right,
for the Southern University football team. But how you doing, Ossie?
I'm doing well this morning. It's just a good day, great day to be alive, great day to be a Tiger fan. It's the Bayou Classic weekend, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm sure you've have plenty of stories. Being part of the broadcast, getting down to New Orleans. I remember doing just regular radio. At this time, you had to get down to New Orleans early. I would leave like 6 in the morning, then try to smooth over the ladies at the door where the media let you in. Hey, I'm doing a radio show. I've got to be up there. The lady said, you don't have to be up there, but I'm going to help you out. So you have to building relationships. So I was still every year. After that first year was no problem. Then you're doing the radio show in the Superdome. You get to see the team come in, the band practicing, last minute. And, man, the spread, Aussie, you know what I'm talking about, where they feed everybody.
Yes, sir.
It was outstanding. Yeah, one time I got a chance to talk with the late, great J.C. Police and the general manager that's at the New Orleans Saints right now, although some would say he should have an exodus. Yeah, I sat down and ate with him, and not that you would be shocked, but he knew a lot about Eddie Robinson and Coach Richardson and the tradition and the history of that Bayou Classic in the Superdome. So you meet a lot of people. Aussie, it's a great time, and then of course the football game, the Battle of the Bands, the Greek show. All of that, and then the economic impact,
yes,
that both institutions have on the city of New Orleans in South Louisiana. So it is here at 1 p.m. Southern Grambling State. Aussie, what do you think about this upcoming game?
To put it mildly, right now, Carlos, I'll be honest with you. The Grambling Tigers are in a wee bit of a snippet, to be mildly. This Southern University football team is actually may not look good numbers wise, but they are very good as a football program. They found a way to win every single week, week in and week out. And you know what? One of the things I can definitely say is that this weekend for Grambling is going to be very tough, but make no mistakes about it. Coach Mickey Joseph and his staff have worked hard this week to prepare these young men for what's in front of them. And nobody wants to come home, because you have to remember Mickey Joseph, Eric Dooley, New Orleans guys. So they don't want to come home and take that L today from the bad guys from Baton Rouge.
Aussie said the bad guys from Baton Rouge. And for a Grambling night, and that's a long travel. Now people come in Wednesday and Thursday, Charles, for that game, but man, what's it, 4-hour trip for Grambling night? So, and then Southern has a campus in New Orleans, and so Baton Rouge, what, about an hour and 10 minutes, or for me, about 50 minutes. I used to get there. It just sets up for a great atmosphere and a great game, and I hope from a officiating standpoint, yeah, oh boy. How ironic. I hope the officials we had yesterday will be doing the SCG to put all the swag splendor on full display. But I hope it's a good, clean game. not a lot of penalties. You know what I'm saying? And you have a 4-hour frame for that game. And I just want it smooth because it's on national TV. You want the optics to look outstanding. Am I wrong for that? Am I wishing for no? Yeah. Okay.
And you want the best product. You want the best product out there. So you're not wrong for that.
No.
That is
But
correct.
it's a rivalry game. Ain't no doubt about that. And it's going to be a little temper flaring from time to time, that sort of thing. And you just hope that it doesn't get out of hand, that it doesn't make things look bad or a bad reflection on either one of the institutions, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, you want your best behavior. It's a game. It's rough. It's physical. It's a collision sport. It's violent at times. Within the playing field, but you don't want it to spill over into anything extra because again, you're on national display.
I wonder, is the Bayou Classic going to be like the Celebration Bowl? And I wasn't on last week when John Cran announced that the losing team must leave the field immediately. You hate to have that, but that's just the times we're in. I wonder what's going to happen with the Bayou Classic. Is there anything in effect for that? Losing team must leave the field, and you got the Bayou Classic trophy and all that other stuff that goes with the winning team. I'm just, I'm hoping for a clean game, but we all know the times we're in right now, and it is a heated rivalry. It is intense. You got one team moving on, another team obviously frustrated that they didn't get where they needed to be. And, you just hope it's a clean game. But, football is an emotional game. And you're on national TV. You want to show up and show out. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I don't think anything has changed because if it would have, they probably would have had a press release, losing team, coaches shake hands, losing team. I'm going to make a big statement, a bold statement. I don't think that will happen between a family rivalry. I think they will shake hands afterwards. It's over with, and they'll proceed to go to the locker room. They'll have the championship, ceremony afterwards. So I'm gonna make a bold statement. I don't think it's going to happen.
I mean, I don't, is there I haven't been so long since I've been to that particular game. Is there any fanfare after the game in terms of, trophies and all that sort of thing? And if not, then, there's no reason for the losing team to leave the field unless it's decided that things got so frosty during the game that we don't need a handshake, that sort of thing, and we send both teams to the locker room after the game, and the coaches just go out the midfield and exchange pleasantries, and we keep it moving from there.
Well, I think you remember last week I said the referees and the coaches, and I think Willie, you brought up the assistant coaches can monitor the situation, and if you see where it's getting to that point, then I guess they would have the option to do that, but it possibly could happen, but I don't think it will.
I don't think it will either. And the sad but honest truth is, every year at the very end of the Bayou Classic, when the trophy is presented, the reason why most guys stick around, or most teams stick around from Grambling and Southern, the players stick around, is because most of those guys played against each other at some point in high school, or they're best friends with each other. They have some working relationship with the other guys from Southern University. So many times that's the reason why the playing surface didn't clear out as quickly as it probably should have. Should there be mitigating factors that are necessary to help move things along so everything can move quickly, smoothly, and efficiently for television purposes? I do believe that there should be something in place for that, but I don't think it should just get to the fact that the coaches just need to come to midfield, shake hands, and then that's the end of it. I think that you take away from the overall pageantry of what the Bayou Classic is supposed to be when you don't allow those guys to be able to at least hug each other, shake hands with each other, and keep things in proper perspective. And if necessary, allow your coaches to do what you just said. Be a part of the solution and not the problem, to help guys maintain their focus that, hey, for 60 minutes we battle, for 60 minutes we go all out, for 60 minutes in this game we're going to give it everything that we got, and whoever wins this game wins the game, and they're the state champions. God bless them. But at the end of the day, we don't lose our class, we don't lose our dignity, we don't lose our pride, and we don't embarrass our universities as a whole. So I think that there should be mitigations that are necessary to help for television purpose and the presentation of the trophy, but I don't think that anything else other than just having guys alert and prepared to make this thing go by a little quicker.
And on that note, well said. And let the church say amen.
Amen.
And let the show say amen. We got to take a break, but when we come back, I kind of look at some of the numbers, and then we'll get into a little discussion. A couple of coaches got let go, and now, boy, let the rumors look the cell phone calling. Who's going to be on the short list? Who's going to be on the long list? We'll talk about it. And I got to be very careful, because one of the guys I know very well, will he land somewhere else? After the season, a lot of things that happen. Then there are rumors already out there. Coaches that are already at institutions, will they be there? And some coaches have only been there a couple of years. 1 year. Will they be back? Will they go into a better place? So let's get a break in. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
HBCU football fans, a champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 14th. MEAC champions, SWAC champions, the Cricket Celebration Bowl, crowning an HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
ESPN Band of the Year returns to Atlanta on December 13th. 4 marching bands will qualify for the big stage, where 2 national champions will be crowned. Follow us on social media for rankings updates throughout the season. And join us at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th. For event and ticket information, visit Band of...
A little bit of the battle of the bands last night in the Superdome. Man, sometimes 40, 50,000 fans in the battle of the band. from what I've been told, SU, the Human Jukebox, won it again. Yeah. That's what I was told.
It's a matter of public opinion, and if you have 35,000 people from Southern University that's in that place, they're going to tell you that Southern won the thing.
Yeah. I say, even the Grambling told me, hey, we got to step it up a little bit. But hey, valid point. Valid point. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. For Southern University and Grambling State, we've kind of talked about it. We know what it means for both institutions. Southern used to have a board of supervisor meeting. Dr. McClellan, for the second year in a row, spoke and talked about, and we're going to go through the proper channels and get Dr. McClellan to come on the show and talk about it. He kind of gave the state of the SWAC and some very good news, interesting facts, and also a little bit of a warning as we move ahead as a conference, what we need to pay attention to, namely name, likeness, and images. But he also said that the conference is in great shape where they are now, and they have representation throughout the different committees. From a financial standpoint, Dr. Ross from Alabama State serves on many, so they're in the conference in a good space. But we'll put in through the proper channels and get Dr. McClellan on and kind of talk about it. But for Grambling State and Southern University, this is the end of the regular season, but not end of the season for Southern University. Let's just talk about it. Let's get our early predictions for the Bayou Classic in. Coach Pettaway, who do you like in this ball game this afternoon?
Well, I've been riding Coach Graves all year, so I'm not jumping off the bandwagon. I'm going with Southern and Coach Graves.
Wheeler?
I've been riding Coach Graves pretty much all year also, although, should Jackson State and Southern play next week, which they will, then I might have to switch gears a little bit, but I'm going with Southern today. I think they got more to play for. They got more at stake.
And that was interesting. You got that in about next week already. Go ahead, Wheeler. Wow. Well, next week, if you listen, kind of get a gauge of the temperature, maybe Southern shouldn't show up. I mean, just kind of what I'm hearing, Jackson State's a heavily favorite, the prognosticators. But anyway, let me stop that. I digress.
Well, the prognosticators don't play. So, at the end of the day, whose chin strap is buttoned up the tightest, who's coming to out hit who, that sort of thing, and who wants it bad enough to get it done. So, at the end of the day, you throw all that prognosticated stuff out the window, and the coaches got to be responsible for getting the kids prepared. The kids got to be ready to play, and whoever go out there on that particular day and get it done, that's who's going to win.
Well, that's why I tell everybody, listen to arrogant me, because I didn't believe the prognosticators at Swag Media Day. Look how it went. Austin, a man who I think he's emotional, but he also thinks with his heart and mind. What do you say, Austin? Bayou Classic.
You actually want me to actually give you my opinion on this particular game? knowing that
Yes.
I am bleeding black and gold through and through on the inside of me. But let me just use an old phrase that one person uses on ESPN, not so fast, my friend. The Southern University Jaguars have been outstanding from this standpoint. They have found ways to win football games. And whoever said that it had to be pretty for it to be effective. And the Southern Jaguars continue to find ways to be effective and make things happen. Tip your hat to Coach Terrence Graves, who's done an outstanding job, put an outstanding cast around him that can coach guys up and get them ready for big moments like today. As much as I love to bleed black and gold from the piney hills of North Louisiana, I got to say the bad guys from Baton Rouge get the win today.
I thought a big butt was coming, Charles. Because
Really?
you talk about memories. I remember Grambling State coming in the game 8-2. Southern was 2-8. Prognosticator said, "Nah, you got to show up, but this is going to be a decisive victory." Southern put up 50 points in that game. So I've seen it, and that's why you kind of worried a little bit because again, this is Grambling's. This game is their championship, and they would love to ruin it. So I keep that in mind, and then we'll look at some particulars. One, Jalen Woods, who we interviewed on this show. Coaches, a team take on the vibes of a coach, and here's a guy that was third string on the chart. Took his high school to the state championship from the right outside of Atlanta. And he's now going to get the start. He put together consistent games. So, how will he be affected by this game, this magnitude on the national stage? I think it's a legitimate question. Now, I think he will be okay. But we'll kind of get in particulars of what Southern has to do to win this ball game. Charles, what say you?
Grambling, dear Grambling, I love thee, dear old Grambling, until 1 o'clock. If we're just being brutally honest, and Ossie Clark had the prediction of the year when we played Grambling, I was so excited and just confident, and Ossie Clark had all corn. The prediction of the year, I think, when he said that, he was dead spot on. His prediction, the way it went down, it exactly went that way. Look, Southern's defense is the real deal. I mean, I look at Southern's defense, especially in the fourth quarter. The game is close. They're going to find a way to lock it down, and they're going to get enough offense to be able to send it in overtime or win it in overtime. I think Southern will win this game. I'm just not confident in Grambling offensively or defensively. They've blown leads. Alabama A&M. I mean, it's been crazy. It's been a mess.
Haven't finished games.
Haven't been able to finish. And look, this is Mickey Joseph's first year, okay? And so maybe I ought to back up and back off a little bit on that. He's still trying to figure it out, and he said changes will be made. But if we look at the game right here and right now, I think Southern's defense is smothering. I'm gonna hold up my prediction as far as the SWAC championship game because I want to see what Woods and this offense looks like. They scored over 30 against UAPB. That's something that Southern fans are waiting for. Can they do it, on a big stage? And so I got Southern winning the game. I think their defense is going to be smothering, and I think offensively they're going to run the football, put their quarterback or quarterbacks in good positions. And I think Southern wins this game, maybe going away.
That would be nice. It was refreshing not to go to an overtime game 2 weeks ago against University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. I think Woods came in, and one of the things I was told from an insider was, doing fall camp, he was probably the most accurate passer. But one thing, and we all have a human element that we need to work on. And one of the things was if he made a mistake, he kind of got down on himself, thought about it too much and wouldn't let it go. and against UAPB, an early interception, but he was able to bounce back and do some things. And it just seemed like the offense opened up a little bit more with Wood. So he's going to be important. Rushing is going to be important. And I'm going to tell you now, I get really nervous when it's 3rd and 7 and 3rd and 8. So I'm going to go to first downs. Stay ahead of the chains for Southern University. Grambling knows they like to run the ball. They like to be physical. So do you believe Grambling will be able to kind of force Southern into 3rd and longs? And then that was the concept all year. If you're defending Southern University, can they beat you passing the football? It'll be interesting now with Jalen Woods in. I think he can take advantage of some things with his arm. Listen to the broadcast. Coach Richardson said that he has a real strong arm. And then I like his quarterback IQ, what I call. And don't have to go out and win the game by himself. With all of that being said, I think Southern wins the ball game. But I kind of like a score 28-21. Because if you look at in 2021, it was a 42-point victory. But other than that, 5 points, 2 points, 3 points. And a rival game throw records out. Emotion lasts for so long. Then it's about execution. I would not be surprised if it's, a close game to the end. Because that's kind of what has happened in the last few years. But I like Southern in this ball game. Also, you can vote in the chat room, put up by Roy, who's going to win the Bayou Classic. Let's see, we got 19 votes in there. All right, I want everybody to get some votes in. Because
Carlos, you know, when you're a freshman, you young and dumb, too young and too dumb to know that you should probably be scared of the situation that you're in. So you just going out there and play.
How about a red shirt freshman? Same thing.
That too. That too. You just going out there and play. You throwing caution to the wind, that sort of thing. You just going out there and just giving it your all. The highs aren't too high, the lows aren't too low. You just going out there and get it done and have a good time.
Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes the bright lights, some people act differently, even as a player. But that valid point. Hey, Woods and then Crawley on the other side. What was it? Preseason Offensive Player of the Year. At the press conference this past Monday, Coach Joseph said he's not 100%. I said he's about 70, 75, or the week off. Has he been able to get a little bit more healthier?
Well, I think he's still in the same position, and the week off has helped him to kind of recoup and recover. If you really watched the game against Alabama A&M, you notice that he still was not quite himself. He wasn't the guy that he could be or has been throughout the course of his tenure at Grambling State University. So I still think he's somewhere around that 75 to 80% mark. He's still not 100, but a 75%, 80% Crawley is better than no Crawley at all at this point. And I think that the Grambling Tigers have to remember that they have to put him in situations where he's not having to hold the football forever and a day. Get the ball in and out of his hands. That's been a problem this year with Grambling, is the intermediate passing game or the short passing game where the ball comes out of his hands quick. He's waiting too long, making bad reads, and that's causing the Tigers problems. So with the injuries now, hopefully for Miles Crawley and Grambling, they've worked on the intermediate game, short passing game, get the ball in and out of his hand so that he's not having to depend on his wheels to try to make things happen.
It's going to be interesting. We kind of talked about the prediction. We're going to, in a few minutes, take our top of the hour break. And during the break, we're going to have an interview with Ramon Reeves, general manager of the Omni Hotel downtown Atlanta. That is the host hotel for the Celebration Bowl. We'll have that up. Just an FYI, post with profanity will not be shown. Thank you. Oh, just in the chat room, behave in there. Quickly, and we can get more into it in hour number 2. Coach McDowell, and we kind of talked about the possibility his contract was not renewed. And then former Southern University coach Dawson Odoms, at first the press release was reassigned, but technically let go. Oh boy, we're at the top of the break, but an early, quick response from everybody. It's that time of year. Coach McDowell, Prairie View A&M now going to be looking for a new football coach, Charles.
Yeah, the program obviously took a little bit of a step back. New administration, new president, new AD. Final year of the contract, you're either going to re-up or you're just going to let it run out and move on. And Prairie View made that decision to move on. And if it was me, I probably wouldn't have done it because considering that he won the division last year, 2 of the last 3 years, but he won the division. But again, when you have at our schools, when you have new administrations, new ADs, new voice, and your program is on the down slope just a little bit, especially with your big sports like football and basketball, more times than not, there's probably going to be a change. And I wouldn't have done it, but I understand why they did.
Yeah, but see, the thing that I don't understand, they're holding Bubba McDowell to a certain standard. What about the other coaches? What about the other programs? There's not a whole lot of success out of it at PV. So are you gonna do the same thing with those coaches? You got to be careful when you make decisions like that.
Well, there's another deal, Coach Pettaway. I don't know what Coach Smith's situation is. Men's basketball, Prairie View men's basketball has been on the downside ever since Landon Bussey left, and so I don't know what his contract looks like. I mean, sometimes at our schools, coaches are there because they can't afford to buy out, and so you let the contract run out, or you get to within a year, and then you can raise the money for a buyout and just let it go after that. So I think the standards at Prairie View are there, but I think at the same time, if you can't afford to buy a coach out, you just kind of let it ride and see how you get to within a year, you get to the end, decide not to renew it. And I think that's the case there. But you got a new president, you got a new AD who wants to make their mark, and that's the start of the mark with football.
And I think that's probably the key right there, Charles. When you got a new president and you got a new AD, you got an AD there who probably doesn't want to be tied to the hip with Bubba McDowell, wants to bring in his own guy and get it done now as opposed to later on. And, with the contract being up, it's convenient to make the move right now. But we know football drives the bus. There's no doubt about that. And, to think that it's going to be fair and equitable across the board, I think we just kind of kidding ourselves from an administrative point of view. Football has more at stake, quote unquote, than the rest of the sports right now. And so, it's imperative that they get football right. And, it's just a matter of whether or not you think that blowing it up is the answer. But if I'm a new AD coming in the door, I've used this past year to get to know Coach McDowell, and now I know whether or not I want to be tied to the hip with him the rest of the way, and, do I give him an extension of 2 years and, now I'm tied to him for another 2 years pretty much, or, do I just go ahead and make myself comfortable right now and, go ahead and make the change, bring my own guy in and be tied to the hip with my guy, and then whatever happens pretty much happens after that.
It's interesting. I'm looking at our colleague, and yeah, he did said it was going to happen. And some things if it could be simple in life if you just win. Now I think Dooley won a division championship, right? And McDowell, I thought, won one. I somebody will correct me if he won two.
Well, I'm looking at it, Carlos. I got the SWAC media guide here. SWAC football championship results in 21. Jackson State beat Prairie View 27-10.
And that was with Dooley? That was Coach Dooley, right? Okay.
And then with 23, so Dooley was at Prairie then. Yeah. So 23, it was 35-14. So just one championship. That was last year. But, again, you just wonder. I mean, I think Prairie View's still a top 5 program in the league and in average. I think we talked about an average program. So when you make a change, you better be careful and get this one kind of right, because you can easily slide down to the bottom tier, not bottom of the barrel, but bottom tier. Or if it's the right hire, you can elevate and be in that conversation with the Southerns and maybe the Alcorns, because we got a lot of work to do too. But
if I'm spending to the tune of a 9-win expectation, and you're bringing me 7, at some point in time, I got to look at that. Can you bring me 9? Or is 7 the max that you're going to be able to bring me year in and year out? And then I have to ask another question, is a new person that I'm going to bring in, am I going to be able to give him the time? Because obviously you got some building to do, so I can't be quick with the trigger, that sort of thing. I got to give this person the time necessary to turn the roster over, do the things necessary to get me where I need to be. Now, from an AD's point of view, do I have that kind of time? So I mean, those are questions that, from an administrative point of view, I've got to answer. Do I tie myself to this 7-win coach? And that's going to be his max. Maybe every now and again he'll give me 8. Every blue moon he might give me 9. Or do I go ahead and scratch it, bring my own guy in, who I believe can get me here, but then I got to preach patience to everybody I come in contact with, to ensure that this guy gets enough time to get me where I need to go. So, I mean, you 6 one way, half a dozen the other. It's something that you got to think about.
Well, let's stop right here. We got to get a timeout in. I said you'll have an opportunity.
Okay.
Coach Pettaway, I'm sitting listening. Somehow Prairie View has all the resources, the facilities to get it done. So I really, I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't think they will go way down if it happens. And they've done it now. I've been watching Dr. Cavill's comments. He's a Prairie View alum. And he said basketball is next, women and men's. You've heard some rumbling. And then he just, paraphrasing, the AD doesn't get it right, then he's going to have issue. But can't you say that about everywhere in the conference? Some expectations are really high. And I think Prairie View alum should expect to do well. The next head football coach will likely have 4-year contract. I'm glad you said that, Dr. Cavill, because I have to be careful, because some kind of way I got tied into a 2-year contract. and you know what? The new chairman of the board at Southern University, when we get him on, if he's honest, he's the one told me at Southern University the days are over of you're going to get a 5-year contract up front. Now you can get it. You see, Coach Pettaway, you would have done well at Southern as a basketball coach, because you saw what happened in your career. You would have had a nice contract, and then on the back end, you would get those 6 years. But you know what? And everybody says, "Boy, you can't do that." But I think the climate is such now. The days are over of getting a 5 or 6 year up front. Right. Heck, did we ever get that many up front? Certain schools would. But on that note, we need to take a time out. When we come back, it'll be more of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Not a 2-year contract. Not a 2-year contract.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Roy Evans with the Black College Sports Network. I am here with Mr. Ramon Reyes, who is the general manager of the Omni Hotel downtown Atlanta. And I know a lot of you know what that is because it is the headquarters for the Celebration Bowl as we get ready to get to that season. We're not too far out, and we've got a bunch of things that are going to be happening. We're going to be back there. One of the things, of course, that we're going to be doing is broadcasting from the sports bar again. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that the hotel has coming up, and then get Mr. Reyes a little bit of opportunity to tell us about his hotel. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you having me, and look forward to chatting about the property and everything we've got that's coming up here pretty soon.
All right. Well, let's do this. The first thing that we know that you guys have coming up is on December 5th. You've got a wine dinner event. Now, listen, we know a lot of folks love wine and a lot of folks love to eat. Tell us a little bit about that one.
So, we're super excited. As you mentioned, December 5th, Camus Wine Dinner. So we're celebrating Camus Napa Cabernet's 50th anniversary. And so we're excited to offer a 5-course dinner that night paired with some wines. Our chef has done a fantastic job in curating a menu in partnership with Camus. And so this is a luxury experience where we not only take you through some really, really good cuisine that's curated by our chef, but the wines that are paired with our partner in this case, which is Camus.
Oh, man, that sounds like that is going to be amazing. We're going to definitely have to get our HBCU folks to come out and look at getting engaged in that. Now, let me make sure. Is that the one that we got the code for? That we'll be able to do things with? Yeah.
This one, it's available to be reserved on our website, Open Table, Eventbrite. So through any of those channels, our guests can find the dinner there and read up on all the offerings and take advantage of it and book their reservations.
Okay. So again, it's the Camus Wine Dinner. That's going to be that's a Friday?
Yeah, so it's on December 5th. It'll be in New South Kitchen, which is here within our hotel right in the main lobby.
Oh, wow. And that was another question I was going to have because I've been seeing that New South Kitchen. And I'm like, okay, we got us another food spot to go. Listen, I'm a amateur foodie, so I like to get out and eat and taste some new places and things. So,
well, I think the great aspect of these dinners is it's a journey, a culinary journey, but it's also an educational journey because these wine purveyors are there. They take everyone through the wines, how they make them, really the different tastes, why they were paired with the food. So it really is a cool experience that we hope others will take full advantage of as they come be introduced to New South Kitchen and certainly our property as well.
Well, listen, we definitely are going to do everything that we can to get as many HBCU folks out there for that one because that sounds like it's going to be something great. So again, folks, the Camus Wine Dinner, December 5th at the Omni Hotel downtown. We're going to jump into that and let it go.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. I was looking in the chat room, 54% to 46% voting on who you think will win the 51st Bayou Classic. Southern at 54%, Grambling State at 46%. I thought it'd probably be a little even closer than that because it's a rivalry game throughout the records, as we've stated throughout the show. It's a granddaddy of them all classics. Some would say the biggest, and I know Coach Pettaway. The Magic City Classic, the Florida Classic. the Bayou Classic is what it is. So you disagree, Coach Pettaway? The Magic City Cap. I'm gonna have to get that one day. That's on my bucket list.
No. I think the Bayou Classic is a great classic, but in terms of attendance and actual activities and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be hard to beat the Magic City Classic now. Kind of hard to beat that now.
Ooh.
What was the
Yeah.
what was the attendance this year?
It was short, 69,000.
Hmm. And you know the Superdome actually can seat 90,000, but it's set up us and Charles, if I'm not mistaken, for like 75, 74,000, something like that. I mean that Magic City, the Florida Classic, all on my bucket list to attend. I love them all. I just said the granddaddy of them all. Well, at least we can say the Bayou Classic is older than the Magic City Classic in those terms. Now, but I'll let everyone else decide which, because I haven't been to both. So somebody maybe in the chat room that's been to both, um, let us know your thoughts on that. With that being said, before the break, we are talking about HBCU coaches and that were let go, and we kind of talking about Bubba McDowell at Prairie View. Now, Charles, I kind of think I know you well. Would be you would be very hesitant to pull the plug quickly. Wheeler, I think you and Charles are in the same boat about pulling the plug quickly, but then before the last break, I don't know. It seems like you know
I mean,
you
he's
would.
got a body of work. He got a body of work out there by which to judge, and he was there as an assistant for a few years, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So when he came aboard, the transition wasn't as tough as it probably could have been, as he was just coming in from off the corner, off the street somewhere. So, taking all that into consideration, I think he's had a good enough time to put together a body of work. And like I
Mm-hmm.
said, it just all depends on the administration. Do they feel that they are paying for a 9-win season? Is that the expectation for them year in and year out? And if that is the case, then, McDowell hasn't met that standard, and obviously they don't see him meeting that standard anywhere in the near future, so they want to make a change. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I can understand things from that point of view. And as Charles stated, anytime you got a new AD and you got a new president, everybody want to put their stamp on something, that sort of thing, and that's their way, that's their manner in which they do so. So I mean, I think it's been enough time to see what he brings to the table. It's all about that gut feeling right now in terms of, should I or shouldn't I? And obviously, AD Golf's gut has told him he need to go ahead and make the change right now, and so it looks like he's done so.
Ozzy?
So I have to ask the question because I want to get clarification on this. Is
Mhm.
is it the fact that Prairie View is looking for a 9-win coach? Because when you go and you look at their record for the last 20 years, how many times has Prairie View won 9 games?
That's
Right.
true.
Right.
You got a good point there, Ossie. No doubt about it. And it could
Yeah.
be slim and none. It
Yeah.
could be slim and none. But
So
at the same time, if I'm paying for a 9-win and I'm not reaching that benchmark based off of the resources that I'm putting into your program, then I have to ask myself the question, do I need somebody else to try to get me to that benchmark, seeing that I'm putting all this money into the program? And if that's the case, then that if that's the standard that has been set, then we have to do some things in order to reach that level of standard that's going to match the dollars that we're putting into the program. And if not, then we're kind of underachieving.
Willa Brown, the Iron AD. go ahead, Austin.
No. I was going to say, and if 9 wins is the metric by which you're going to actually make the assessment, then I understand exactly what Wheeler's saying. But if that is the case, looking at history says that Prairie View hasn't been able to do that in a number of years, and I know that that's a goal that you would like to achieve. But at the end of the day, if your team is competing for championships and actually putting a good product on the field, it would behoove them to think this guy can actually get the job done. It just, one game here or there, things didn't go the way that you want them to go. Here's the second part of that. I believe, this is just my opinion of the situation, that the pressure came from the top onto the AD, who probably did not want to make this decision. And then secondly, let's also throw in this. Let's throw this in the gumbo since my pot is starting the ball. What is it that Coach McDowell probably wanted to add into the contract that Prairie View didn't want to give him?
Well,
all that's a possibility now. There's no doubt about that.
But
all that is a possibility.
Well, so I'm saying all that to say that, at the end of the day, it is the responsibility of the president, the AD, to go in the direction that they believe that the program goes in and will go into. But I don't think, this is just me speaking candidly, I don't think that's a good decision. I don't think that makes your program look good. And every coach, and I believe Coach Pettaway said something just a minute ago, is that you need time to actually build a program up. And if you're not getting at least 4 years to generate a new cycle of people to come in, and actually people that you brought into your program to build that program, then you're already behind the 8 ball to begin with. So it's going to be a carousel. It's going to be merry-go-round, and we're going to be singing that song, "You Got Me Going in Circles" at Prairie View, if they're waiting for every coach to win 9 games every year.
Yeah, and once again, I'm going in the chat room, and I simply agree with Dr. Cavill, who's an alum in Superior, the desire to win and championships. The conversation would be totally different if they had one championship, just one in the cycle. Another case, and this is where all this started. They're kidding me about Odoms. Oh my God. Why are you so hard on Dawson Odoms? He went to back-to-back championships and lost. Oh, yeah, it still hurts to this day. Still hurts to this day. But overall, his record was good. He got second place. It's all about expectations. Now, if I can do this, a 9-win expectation, if you're putting a puzzle together, Southern, Alcorn, Prairie View, Alabama, A&M. I think that puzzle fits at Southern University, in my opinion, because 8 wins and 7 wins, sometimes it depends. That's not good enough. The expectations. So, Prairie View, simply as Dr. Cavill said, simply to win consistently, and win championships. I think that's the goal of everybody in the conference, no matter what sport.
It's the goal, Carlos, but it's a difference between the goal and what you're actually paying for. Everybody hopes and dreams and wishes and all that sort of thing, but are your dollar signs matching those hopes and wishes and dreams? And if the answer is no, then it's not realistic that you are demanding that kind of excellence. It doesn't equate at all.
Oh,
Don't
but
you know
I think Prairie View is
at Mississippi Valley, they expect you to win championships.
Yeah.
At
I mean, no doubt
Mississippi
about
Valley,
that.
they expect you to win championship, and they
But
want to
anybody
win
in their right
championship.
mind knows that they're not
But they don't
paying
have.
for a
But they don't.
championship.
But they don't have the resources.
They're
At
doing
Mississippi
exactly
Valley.
what Coach Pettaway said. They're wishing for a championship. The key word is wish.
Yeah, wish. But let's kind of smooth Mississippi Valley out the way. Can we talk?
Yeah. Let's talk.
No.
Let's talk. Bubba
No.
McDowell gave you 2 division champions. He's been there 3 years. 2 out of the 3 years he gave you division championship. Does that not show progress? Does that not show progress?
Progress. Dr. Cavill, we had the winning football team over the last 2 decades and only 1 championship. Prairie View Interim has had the top or second highest budget for the last 2 decades.
That says something right there.
I'm thinking along with Dr. Cavill. If I'm a Prairie View alum, no, I'm not satisfied. I'm sorry. And then if I'm listening to Charles, well, he probably needs a couple more years to get it done. No.
Okay.
Wheeler, no.
Okay. All right, fine. All right, so
RC, no. Coach Pettaway, no. That's not good enough for me.
all right, so that being said, where do you go from here? I'm sure AD Golf, just like Wheeler Brown knows this, being a former AD. The ADs have told me they got a Rolodex of names in case a coach gets fired, they resign, they leave. So AD Golf has probably a short list of names already that Prairie View came out with the job description in terms of what their expectations are for the next coach. If I were AD Golf, I would kick the tires on Eddie George. He fits exactly what the job description just talked about. Yes, he was named coach of the year in the conference. They're playing in the FCS playoffs. That's part of the job description that Prairie View put out there. So he has now. I don't know whether they can afford him or not. I don't know how much money he's making, but to me, I would at least kick the tires on Eddie George. It may not happen. Eddie George may not be interested in leaving Nashville, but that's a name that's been resonating with me for the last week. I don't know if he's ready to leave Nashville, and I don't know if Prairie View's ready to up the ante financially, salary-wise, to get him. But he's met those expectations. OVC coach of the year. They're playing in the playoffs today. They're playing Montana. Tough draw. But just think, he comes to the SWAC, comes to Prairie View, wins the West. He's going to play in the championship, and then $1 million payout in the Celebration Bowl. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm looking at something crazy, but I'm taking a look at that.
I don't know. I don't know that the patience is there to deal with an Eddie George. Eddie, it's going to take time. If you think Eddie walks in the door and you win a championship in year 1, then you're just kidding yourself. Eddie is going to slow roll it.
Yeah.
He's going to do it the right way. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
He's going to build it from the bottom up. And ultimately, he may get you where you need to be, but if you can tolerate those couple of down years that Eddie's going to have, and if you can deal with that, if you can ride that out, it may, I know they're paying him at least $400 at Tennessee State. And I don't believe that Prairie View willing to go that high. Rightfully so. I don't know that there's a $400,000 HBCU coach out there anywhere.
We had a couple of close ones.
Anyway,
we had a couple of close ones.
But I understand what you're saying, though, Charles.
Yeah.
And if the patience is there for an Eddie George, and you got the money, then it might be worth kicking the tires on. But if the patience isn't there, and people are expecting whoever comes in, unrealistically, I might add, to win right away, okay, then, they're just kidding themselves on the outside looking in, But AD Golf is going to have to make a splash. There's no doubt about that, simply because, as you said, Bubba McDowell wasn't a losing coach. He just didn't meet the expectations of the programs at the time based off of the resources they were putting in to the program.
Okay, right now they're pushing another NFL former player. They're pushing Ray Lewis now. So you got to be careful with these. You got to be careful with these fresh hires now. His name has been out there for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Carlos, I said this. I said it on this show. Those celebrity hires, and I said it via text. Those names aren't going in. They're not going away. The Deion model is still, and you see what he's done in Colorado. And I heard that model is still being talked about privately amongst athletic administration officials in some cases. So it's not going anywhere. It may calm down for a little bit. I think Ray Lewis is a stretch, but I think Eddie George is. I mean, if you just see what he's done at Tennessee State, he's not splash and flash. Like, he's built that thing one brick at a time. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's, to me, I just look at Eddie George and I look at Prairie View. I mean, it's just my opinion. I think it just fits. Low-key guy, gonna build it up. Now, if you don't have the patience, then he's not your guy. But I think if you look at where Prairie View is, Prairie View's still a top 4, top 5 football program, kind of like Southern basketball. When they got Kevin Johnson, Southern basketball is a top 4, top 5, and Kevin Johnson's kind of kept the truck right there.
But Charles, I'm not paying $400 for it.
I get that.
I'm not doing.
Oh, Wheeler, we know you're not gonna pay $400,000.
Stop the madness. Stop the madness. I'm not paying $400 for a football coach.
Yeah. So what's the metric, guys? What's the metric that we have to meet if we're Prairie View A&M University right now trying to get this new coach in? Because I'm hearing patience on one side, but on the other side, I'm hearing hurry up and win. What if you win 9 games and you still lose 3 and you still don't make the championship? What if you win 10 and you still don't make the championship? You're winning, but you're not winning the championship. So how is it that we have both metrics? Be patient, but win right now. That's an oxymoron of it all. In and all of itself right there. It's kind of hard to determine how do you get a guy in there that's going to fit exactly what everybody wants. So I'm with Charles. I think that if I want a good program, I want to think about Eddie George, and here's why. You got to think Tennessee State from a school standpoint is in a little bit of trouble budget-wise.
And Coach George.
But you know what, Ossie? We all in a bad state budget-wise. Okay. Some of us just advertise it a little bit more than others. When you look at it overall, I don't think it's anybody that's really above water. We all treading at best. So some of it is more publicized than others. And I'm sure that at some point in time, Eddie may have to take some kind of reduction in salary or what have you, depending on who the new president is at Tennessee State, that sort of thing. And so, as Eddie's contract winds down, hopefully he's put himself in position to where he can springboard and bounce somewhere else. But I don't see him continuing to bounce on the HBCU level. I see him at a maybe FCS PWI. And moving towards that direction, because I think his style, the way that he's gone about building the program, lends itself to that kind of environment a little bit more than our environment, where you got to come in and burn it up right away, or everybody trying to run you out the door, that sort of thing.
I don't think in year one. I don't think. I look at Trey Oliver at North Carolina Central. He kind of built his way up a little bit. Honestly, I think it just depends on. Well, let me say this: Prairie View, I think they have everything in place to be successful. From a financial standpoint, academics, they are a top school. Now, it's baseball. It seems like they've gotten better. Men's basketball with Coach Smith, they did pretty good. Then they hit a little spot. Women's basketball, perfect. I just, Coach Pugh comes from a winning program, coach and winning, and they just haven't gotten it done. I think it's fair assessment for Prairie View alums and supporters to want to be more successful. How about I term it that way? 9 wins a year at football. I think that's an attainable goal for Prairie View. Is it realistic? According to Wheeler, probably not. So, thank you, AD.
And when I say 9, I'm talking about in terms of the resources that are being put into the program.
They got I think they got the
goal,
resources.
you got to be in the upper third every year. You got to be in the discussion every year. And when the stars align themselves perfectly, and that window of opportunity becomes available to win a championship, you want to make sure that you're ready and willing to step through that window and win that championship. So, I mean, I don't think it's realistic to think that, you're going to win it every year. That's not the case. My thing is upper third, let's be in the discussion. And when that window of opportunity presents itself, let's take advantage of that window of opportunity, to step in and complete the job. So, and if that means
according to your metrics,
year, what have you, then fine.
Now, AD Brown. Now you talking about football. Let me speak up for the basketball coach at Prairie View. He's giving you all championships. Where does he play? What does he have to recruit with? Where does he play, and what does he have to recruit with?
I mean, I would hopefully I'm giving him the same level of resources, that I'm giving football.
Not in terms of facilities.
And if not, then
you're not doing it with facilities.
Then we need to be in the same neighborhood. We got to get there. That's something that we need to work towards, honestly work towards, building in that direction. We got to get there. I mean, because, basketball is a cash cow also. Yeah. So we definitely have to get there. I don't want to be Alabama State, to where I got almost the highest budget in the conference, but I can't win in my major sports. I don't know when the last time they brought a football championship home. I don't know when the last time they brought a men's or women's basketball championship home. But they win the conference trophy in sports excellence, 8 out of the last 9 years?
Right. So
there was a year or two.
Well, what's the measuring stick then? That I thought that means that they had a top program in the conference if they win that award.
And it does, Coach Pettaway. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but what I'm saying is my revenue sports have to excel. At the end of the day, when I go to the barbershop on Saturday, nobody talks about that hell of a volleyball game that was played last week. I don't hear anybody discuss how well the baseball team did last week or the soccer team. And not to say that it's not important. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is my money makers have to be true money makers and competitive so that we can reap the trickle down for the other sports as it pertains to finances. People are going to go in their wallet, when football, men's and women's basketball doing well, they ready to give, they feeling good about it, that sort of thing. I call them feel-good sports. They feeling good about those sports, they giving it up. And if that's the case, then there's always going to be some trickle down for those non-revenue sports to thrive and survive.
Well, on Turkey Day, you had over 21,000. You had over 21,000 in attendance at your game on Turkey Day. But you still don't have that championship, but you're still in the running. You're still in the running to have the number one program in the SWAC again.
Yeah, and they probably get it, Coach Pettaway.
But I think you would say for Alabama State, and I know Dr. Cable well, interviewed him at Media Day, and he said the expectations is to elevate. And can you say that Alabama State football elevated this year? They were in the running. They had a chance to perhaps be in that conversation for the East until they lost to Grambling because Florida A&M lost. Alabama State had it right there in their sights, and they blew it. And so now
injuries.
Well, I get it.
How many other schools in the conference lost that many quarterbacks?
I get it. I get it. And so that's a conversation. I agree. I absolutely agree. And so they had an opportunity. So the question is for Dr. Cable for that program. On one hand, yes, you were down to your fifth string quarterback who was a wide receiver transformed into a quarterback. Right. So you still had a fairly decent year. You won the Magic City. And so, are you right back to where you are? But then you look at Jackson.
But Charles, look at the body of work. So this is not
body of
Eddie,
work,
this
expectations.
Is not Eddie Robinson's first year.
Right.
It's not his first year. Look at the body of work.
Yeah.
Has he underachieved since he's been there?
Ooh.
And then once you answer that question, okay, you can, I ain't going to say throw this past year out the window because you're not throwing any year out the window as part of the body of work.
Yeah.
But does the body of work dictate to me that this is the guy that's going to be able to get it done for me based off the resources that I'm putting into the program? Is this the guy that's going to get me to the promised land, or do I need to look in another direction to try to get where I want to go?
I think Alabama State I think Eddie Robinson Jr. is fine. I think if you look at the fact that he's been through 10 quarterbacks in 3 years, down to fifth string quarterback, and I know that may be an excuse, but that's just the reality of what he's had to deal with.
It is, Charles. It's an excuse. It's the reality.
Yeah.
But it is an excuse.
Yeah.
Okay, because we expect the coaches to adapt and adjust, to find a way to get it done in spite of, to keep being in the conversation, regardless of what may happen or what may transpire during a particular year.
Yeah, I would. If it was me, I would stay with Eddie Robinson Jr. I think he's done enough to stick around and stay there. Give him another opportunity. That's just me. That's just me. I would stay with where I am with him. I think he's good.
I'd have to ask the question: is there somebody out there better? And
the answer to that right now is no.
If the answer to me for that question,
look at us.
The answer to me for that question is yes, then I got to grapple with some things in terms of whether or not I need to go ahead and make that call.
Well, no, wait a minute. I don't mean to be a mean guy, but Don, you would need Don King to negotiate with AD Will. But now we got to Alabama State. We started with McDowell, right at Prairie View, right? Yep. And by show of hands on there, Prairie View on this panel, did Prairie View AD make the wrong call? Do you agree with his decision?
No, I don't agree with it.
No, Wheeler.
I agree with it.
I agree too.
I agree with it. New AD coming in the door. Yeah. I agree with it.
Well, yeah, and then also again, I look at from the outside looking in. Conversation would be different if you had one of those championships. It kind of changed the dynamics, but they do deserve to make their decision, and now golf will have to live with that decision. And it's interesting what Dr. Cavill said. He's now looking at the whole body of work for all of the programs.
Yeah.
And in particular, he's going to make his assessment. Now, Coach Dawson Odoms at Norfolk State had success at Southern University. There are people in the Jaguar Nation who feel very tenderly about Dawson Odoms. You still, I kid. I joke, being facetious, saying that there's about 40% of Odom Knights still in the Jaguar Nation. It would not matter who comes in. They love the guy. So he moves on. We had a contract issue with that. You heard different things, want to be back close to on the East Coast, his family, his wife wasn't happy, all those different things. But wanting a huge contract extension wasn't going to happen. So anyway, he pretty much got that at Norfolk State, right? 5-6 years,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't work out. Here's my thing about all of that. I understand coaches have families and stability and all of that, but I'm not going to be boxed in the corner giving contract. Here we go again. Those contracts, you better know what you're doing if you're offering that kind. Because in some places, Willie, you said Norfolk State can't afford to buy out.
No, they can't. They
Okay.
can't, not really.
Who else got a big contract?
The boy at A&T got a great contract.
Well, I wasn't going to bring that one up, but you
Yeah,
brought
it
it
is
up.
what it is.
Yeah.
I'll bring it up.
And so you're stuck like Chuck now.
Yeah.
No pun intended, Charles. You're stuck. Now, Coach Pettaway's a coach.
In Odom's defense, the budget has gone down every year that he's been there. He walked in, he won 7 games, I think. It was 7-4 his first year. And then it's been downhill from there. Scholarships have been reduced, budget's been reduced, that sort of thing. And so, but expectations have continued to rise. But, at the end of the day, you're still responsible for trying to get it done. And there be an AD who will see his resume and see that he didn't do well at Norfolk State and will not look at the fact that they went through budget situations, things of that nature. They will look at him as not getting it done. Right. So the chance of him getting that next job is going to be difficult.
Well,
right. Because he can no longer live off of what he did at Southern. Right. What have you done for me lately?
Right. And see, Carlos, you got to remember where I'm concerned. I think a coach should have the minimum of 3 years with an option for a 4. That gives you a recruiting class, or a 4-year contract, which gives you a recruiting class. That's what
I like, Coach Pettaway. I'm telling you. But
I think that's fair for me as a coach. If you give me a recruiting class, and if I can't show you progress with a recruiting class, then you need to move on and I need to move on.
Well,
our coach Carlos got a 3-year deal. Cedric Thomas got a 3-year deal. And so, year 1 clearly was not what we expected. And obviously the way the season ended against Jackson State is definitely disappointing and disheartening. So, there are a lot of people out there that, there's some people that feel like, was this the right choice? And so that this is year 1 now.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, but he's got to take a long look, Charles, at his situation. He's got to look at his coaching staff and see, does he need to make some changes? This is going to be a big recruiting cycle, for him, that sort of thing. So, he's got to show your constituents that he is the guy, that he's trying to get it going in the right direction, that sort of thing. And, he can't be reluctant to make changes if necessary. Obviously everything didn't go as planned, so obviously there's some things there that need to be tweaked or patched or scratched or what have you. He can't be afraid to make those moves.
I've been doing this 33 years, guys. This is the biggest year. This is the biggest off season probably in the 33 years I've been here in terms of where our football program is. A lot of faith was lost, unfortunately, especially after the last coaches show we had, and just some of the questions and some of the explanations as to why we didn't basically show up against Jackson State, which is a lot more of a disappointment than the season, honestly. Carlos, you predicted Alcorn would win the game. Jackson State had 7 players out. I think we had text, and you thought the Braves would win the game based on everything, but it was a dud for sure. And so
it was bad.
It was bad, and so I hate to say that because I love Alcorn, but it was tough. So year 1, 6-6, okay, but it's more disappointing with the way the Jackson State game turned out. And so people are still angry 7 days later. I was talking to somebody the other day, still mad, furious about perfect day, but not any sort of result, no energy whatsoever. And so that's tough. But this is a big off season for us. Our quarterback is gone. Tyler Macon will be back, from what I've been told. He'll compete these questions about quarterback play, we're going to be talking about it at media day again in 7 months.
Charles, could they just move him to another position?
Well, he has.
I'm so tired of hearing about man. He's not quarterback material. I'm sorry.
Well, he will be back because one of our quarterbacks, Christopher Martin, transferred. He's in the portal, and of course, you're reading about this stuff now. And it's a big year for Alcorn football. I mean, look at UAPB. Hagen's the quarterback's in the portal. Giovanni Gibson, the wide receiver, in the portal. So the Southern University's got a really good situation at the quarterback position. But other than that, in the West, it's topsy-turvy. And so at some point, you got to come up with something. And so this is a big year for Alcorn, a team in which just a few short years ago was playing at home for the SWAC championship. And now look at where we are. So this is a huge offseason for us. We got a lot of pieces to fill, a lot of holes to fill on the defensive side, quarterback. This is a huge offseason with a very difficult schedule, by the way. We got a very tough schedule. We got a road-heavy schedule at the start. Mississippi State, Northwestern State, Alabama A&M on the road. We're not home until October. We got a very tough schedule. And we're playing Southern in November for the first time ever. And so that's going to be a challenging schedule with a revamped roster. So this is a big offseason for us.
So now, Will, let me ask you this. Is Alcorn's budget in line with their winning?
Yes.
Probably,
no.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
Probably, yes. And I think it's unrealistic
based
on resources to expect them to be a 9-win program.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Now,
based on resources.
Wait a minute. Will, Dave, as far as I know, Alcorn has always had a small budget.
And they've always
But they were able to win.
They've always overachieved. They've always
overachieved. Wait a minute, Will. I wouldn't say overachieved.
Based off of resources, Carlos.
Yep.
Based off of resources. They have always overachieved, and they've always overmaxed in terms of what they've done compared to the dollars that they've had to work with. That's what I'm talking about right now.
Well,
Coach McNair did wonders.
He did great.
With almost little or next to nothing as compared to some of the other programs' budgets. He got it done. No doubt.
That's my point. If I'm
Prairie View, I'm knocking on his door. We are talking. We may not come to an agreement. We may not come to an agreement, but he's on my short list. He in my Rolodex. I'm going to talk to him and kind of get a feel for where he is mentally and otherwise, as it relates to the goals that I'm setting for my particular program.
I can see that, but here's that word again. My sources, where the AD comes from, I think he wants a move, a non-SWAC person in that football position, and he has a right to. He has a right to do that.
Yes, he does.
That's his decision. I think McNair will land somewhere. I don't know if Prairie View is the best fit. It don't hurt to talk. I understand. But there'll also maybe some other coaches maybe on the hot seat. I look at but Brother Willard, where does the AD position accept accountability for increasing the budget?
That too.
Well, Alcorn in the rural setting, setting, it's different than Prairie View, Texas Southern.
It is.
Southern University is different. Now, Grambling State is in a rural area, Austin, but I think it's leadership. I think leadership is very important as far as from the administrative side, athletic, and the academic side as well. Boy, we're running out of time here. Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, there is no doubt. And when you talk about programs like the Gramblings and you talk about the Alcorns being in a very rural area, the tradition within itself has helped the program to do what Wheeler has said, which is overcome budgeting situations that may happen at those particular institutions. Now, here's the thing that I sit back and I look at and I hear everybody loudly and clearly in today's conversation. The one thing that I definitely can say is that at the end of the day, you got to find somebody who can actually come in and get the job done. You got to find somebody that's going to actually bring people that can get the job done underneath him as a coaching staff. And then thirdly, you got to bring in people that's going to produce winning, that's going to put people in the stands, that's going to help the bottom line. And I think that's what Wheeler's been trying to get us to understand throughout this whole thing, is that at the end of the day, it's about dollars and cents right now.
And I would add winning.
And somebody said, Carlos, somebody said a long time ago that on our level, on HBCU level, you're expected to turn water into wine.
Yep.
And sometimes you have to even bring the water. Yeah, so I mean,
make gold out of straw. What I said too.
But you know, when you look at Alcorn's budget situation, I mean, it's pretty obvious. We have the second smallest enrollment in the Southwest Athletic Conference. The same dollars that's paying the football coach, that's paying the AD, is the same pot that's paying the janitors, and the teachers, paying the deans, paying the chancellor. So when you're enrolled, and we've had enrollment decreases for the last several years, and still the enrollment number this fall is a little bit down. So when you have that, that's all you got to work with. Now, yes, you can raise some money here and there, but that's your budget for the most part. So that's why your guarantee games and this other stuff help with that budget. But the enrollment numbers, and I think for all of our schools, it's kind of in the same boat. When you have high enrollments, I think Jackson's enrollment is up, maybe Prairie View's is up, I think Alabama A&M's is up, and so that those dollars trickle down into athletics, and it helps bolster their budget. We're still trying to recover a little bit. So therefore, that's where we are as far as athletics. And so next year, you know, we got Mississippi State. It's going to be a guaranteed game for us. And, you know, we got a few home games, but for the most part, we're on the road heavy. So when you look at those budgets going forward, it's just a tough deal for us. But we're trying to do the best we can with what we have. Coach McNair did a wonderful job. He was offered a contract. He chose not to take it. There was a contract offer out there for him for a while. He chose not to take it. And that's fine. He did the best for him and his family. But, you know, going forward, we got to win some games, get the fan base back to pack the stands. We got Southern University in November, which is going to be different. And that could be a big game for, you know, looking forward. But, you know, from a budgetary standpoint, guys, enrollment and just financials, we got to explain that to folks so they can understand. That's where I've always been. Just explain to our stakeholders, our alumni, how it works, and let them take it for where they want to take it.
And you got to say it more than once, Charles.
Yes.
That's the key. You just can't say it one time and think that it's going to marinate.
Right.
You know, you got to tell them constantly, repeatedly, exactly where you are, you know, and exactly what it's going to take in order to get out of the hole that we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, just from the outside looking in, I kind of knew a few of the ADs and the president of Alcorn, some of the decisions that they've made. You know, I understand if you don't have, you don't have. But still, decision making, you can always come back and look at that. Did I do the best? Did I make the best decision? And, you know, I know for Southern, it's always been political. I talk to Dr. Kavil all the time. Every institution has these political fights. I'll be honest, I thought Southern was the worst place for its politics, but I'm going to find out, not really. not really. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to be able to, no matter what size your budget is. I understand if you at the low totem pole of budgets, you can't expect much. But if you kind of can win, it kind of helps smooth some of the things out. Back to celebrity coaches quickly. You know, Charles, I'm not for that.
Yeah.
I think that's horrible. You know, I don't want my blood pressure to go up, Austin. But I know there are people who deserve opportunities and they can't get it. It's amazing how you can come to HBCU and we're so forgiving. We'll give them the opportunity, but some of these guys, they couldn't touch where they went to school at for a coaching opportunity. But come to our schools, we'll give you that opportunity.
Open arms.
Yeah, but open arms. Oh, okay. I thought he was talking about arms, not arms. Here I just don't like the celebrity hires. You know, and we you know, years from now they'll do a case study. Maybe Dr. Cavill will do it. I see one example where it worked, but I hadn't seen it anywhere else. Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, all that. Just miss me with all that. Give me an opportunity. And sometimes you can't. Africa wasn't built in a day. Notice I didn't say Rome.
Yeah.
Africa wasn't built in a day. So how? I guess my only thing is I think if they go with the celebrity coaches, it'll be instant success and gratification, but I beg to differ. Closing comments, everybody. Austin, starting with you.
Well, I'm with you guys. I'm not on the celebrity coaching carousel or whatever that is. I don't believe in that either. It's just like watching my favorite team, the Los Angeles Lakers, and J.J. Redick is the head coach. And there's so many other guys that are qualified to be in the position, other than the fact that J.J. Redick played the game. I mean, he has no coaching pedigree. And so when you talk about guys like Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, those guys have no coaching pedigree that they can stand behind. The only thing that they have is a name. And so if you just look at the name alone is not enough to produce wins and losses at a school. You may bring in some great ball players, but the end result is, can they get the job done? And so I'm not into celebrity hires either. I just think that it's good for a moment, but not good for the long term.
Right.
Coach Pettaway?
And for me, I'm looking forward to the Bayou Classic today. And by the way, Alabama, the Magic City Classic, this past year was our 83rd Magic City Classic. So we're moving on. And so I still got Coach Graves and Southern winning that game.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of basketball, Southern, they've had a couple of 80-point victories. I don't even mention that, but they did beat Louisiana Tech today, 73-70. So kudos. 57% of the chat voted for Southern to win the Bayou Classic. Thank you, Brian. Let's see who else quickly. Oh, 1 o'clock. Willard.
If you haven't been in that long line of coaches and administrators who have worked their way up from the bottom to try to get to the top, only to have a celebrity person just bypass the entire process and go by you, then you don't necessarily have an appreciation of what all that entails. And that's why I will never be a proponent of the celebrity hires. There's too many guys who have worked themselves up from the bottom, worked as GAs and went to get the coffee and the donuts and all that sort of thing, and just continue to follow the path that you take in order to get to the top, only to be bypassed by somebody who just woke up one morning and decided they wanted to be a head coach at a HBCU. You won't get there on my watch or my back. And that's all I have to say on the matter.
Yes, sir. I want to thank Roy. Besides me, a big Miami Heat fan, Pat Riley.
Carlos, I got a challenge for you before we go real quick, Carlos. I'm challenging you. Pick up that phone, call Pat Riley, and tell him to take that doggone ugly statue of D Wade down. That statue is nowhere even close to looking like D Wade. It is a disgrace to me, and that's my opinion. That don't look anything like D Wade. Tell him to take that doggone statue down. Call him right now. Get him on the line.
From the eye of an artist, I'm more worried about a statue of a trophy, a championship.
Well,
that's what I
want. Way to go for that one.
But Pat says, yeah, he's gotten complaints about that.
Yeah, take that doggone. It is a disgrace to me. That don't look nothing like D Wade. And look, and D Wade and his friend, they were on TV. You saw the ceremony. They laughed it off. Their body language, like, really? They took it all in stride. But tell him to take that doggone bus down and give D Wade the respect that he deserves. Give him something that looks like him. That don't look nothing like him. Not a doggone thing.
On that note, we definitely have to go now.
Yeah.
Want to thank Roy for producing today's show. Everybody in the chat room, it's Bayou Classic time now. I'm going to have some fun. The G. Until next Saturday at 11 a.m. for another edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until that time, peace and God bless.